After taking a week off, we sure have a lot to catch up on with McKinney ISD Sports. Hello and welcome to Sports Talk. I'm Tyler Sloan. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. Unfortunately, there will be no post-Thanksgiving football action in McKinney. The Boyd Broncos were knocked out of the first round of the playoffs by a dynamic Jesuit team. Don Drake will join me in studio to reminisce on the Broncos' 2012 season. We'll also review the volleyball season for all three high schools, including Boyd's trip to the state semifinals. And we didn't forget about the Dennis Baker State Farm Scholar Athlete of the Week. It's all just around the corner on Sports Talk. Boyd Broncos weren't able to get out of the first round of the playoffs. A tough game against a good Jesuit Rangers squad. I'm joined now by head coach Don Drake. And Coach, Jesuit, they came out and played you tough in the first half and then it sort of slipped away in the second half.
It did. You know, we started the game really well, I thought. Took a 7-0 lead into the second quarter. Had them on a fourth down, fourth and goal play in the second quarter. Tipped the ball. Their kid makes a diving catch in the end zone to tie it up at 7 apiece. And then they hit us with an onside pooch kick that's probably the best onside pooch kick I believe I've ever seen in 18 years. And we're able to get the ball back and punch it in again to take a 14-7 lead over us. Our kids battled back. We drove down and put the ball in the end zone. Unfortunately, it got called back for a holding call, so we were forced to kick the field goal and made it 14-10. And at that point felt pretty good about where we were at. They scored one with 8 seconds to go on a jump ball in the end zone right before the half to make it 21-10, which was unfortunate. I think that score right before halftime really hurt us emotionally. Brian got banged up there in the latter part of the second quarter. He's such an inspiration to our kids as well. So, I think emotionally we were dealing with a lot. And when we came back out in the second half, we didn't recover very well, in terms of our play in the second half, which was disappointing. But really proud of the group of kids, played in a very, very competitive district and finished second in that district. And so, our group accomplished quite a bit.
They sure did. Let's take a look at the highlights from the game against Jesuit. In the first quarter, it was really a battle of field position early on. A lot of defense being played in this game. Both teams early on trying to use their strengths. Jesuit not able to run the ball very effectively against your group.
No, I thought defensively we were playing really, really well early. We gave up a little bit, but we kept them out of the end zone. Like you said, it turned into a field position game in the first half. We, of course, came out expecting to run the football, which I thought early we did a pretty decent job of against a pretty good Jesuit squad. Again, it was kind of a series of unfortunate events that happened for us that we weren't able to recover from.
You're going to take the 7-0 lead after this field position battle, backed up to your own 6, and Brian Driscoll decides to completely flip that field position.
Yeah, he did. Took it on a 94-yard touchdown run. I believe that's the longest rush we've ever had for a touchdown from scrimmage. And so that was pretty exciting. That's another record, I guess, that Brian gets to take with him as he graduates from our program. So it was a great run.
At that point, what are you feeling as a coach, up 7-0 early in a playoff game like this?
Well, it felt pretty good. We had the lead. Obviously, we were playing well defensively. Offensively, we weren't lighting it up, but I felt like we were doing okay. And felt pretty good at that point.
Just there was a 3rd and goal at the 1 for Jesuit. You're able to knock them back 2 yards on that play. Felt better going to that 4th and 3 that they ended up converting on the tip pass for a touchdown.
Yeah, and we had them right where we needed them. They were going to throw a fade route out to the Oliver kid on the outside, and we pressed him up, did a really good job of taking that away. The quarterback had to pull it down. He ended up lofting one up, which we actually got a hand on, and the ball floated there in the end zone. The kid makes a great play, makes a diving catch to score to tie the game up.
And as you mentioned, the Pooch onside kick, they get back. They take a 14-7 lead. Your quarterback, Curtis Ladd, leads you back down the field on a 3rd and 17, completes a 30-yard pass to Dedrick Scrivens, and then Curtis runs for 32 yards himself, sets you up nicely within their 10.
Yeah, it was great because it's 14-7 at that point. We've got the ball down inside the 5. We actually punch it in on 3rd down. But like I said, it got called back for the holding call, so we ended up forced to kick the field goal to make it 14-10 at that point.
Some teams in the playoffs decide that on 4th down, they like to go for it, especially when they're deep in the opposing territory. You decide to play it safe, go for the field goal. What led to that decision?
Well, it was 3rd and 12 after the holding call, so I felt like field position-wise we weren't in great shape, you know, and we had put the ball down there and we needed to get points. You know, after we were incomplete on the 3rd and 12, it brought up 4th and 11, which is a long way to go. Felt pretty confident that we would be able to make the field goal and cut that lead to 4, which we did.
And of course, you have to have a lot of confidence in the way your defense was playing, and giving up 45 points in this game, not your defense's fault. You, unfortunately, coming out in the 3rd quarter, had 4 straight turnovers that led to 24 second-half points for Jesuit.
Yeah, we did. You know, and 2 of those turnovers were deep in our territory. I mean, one of them was on the 18-yard line, I think, so they had a chip shot to go put it in there. The second one was deep in our territory as well, which we actually defensively held them to a field goal, which I thought was pretty good considering the circumstances we put our defense in. And then unfortunately the other 2 happened on their end of the field when we were in position to put some points on the board and cut that lead, but we weren't able to. And you know, you can't win with turnovers. I mean, we've said that all year, and we've been a great football team that hasn't been turning the football over. Matter of fact, our turnover margin, we've been way ahead in that category if you count the number of turnovers our defense has had versus the number of giveaways that we've given up. Unfortunately, Friday night against Jesuit, it didn't work out that way. You know, we were -4 in the turnover factor, and that hurts.
And that is a stat that certainly can kill you. Who in your mind had a really standout performance in that game despite the loss?
Well, I thought several kids defensively played really well. You know, Jesuit's a good football team. We knew going in they were very, very explosive. You know, I thought that Adam Brown, at inside linebacker, played really well again Friday night against Jesuit. You know, I thought Paxton Larson did a great job at corner. I thought he played pretty well, made some great plays. So we still had some kids that I thought played well, you know, overall. Brian had a pretty good night. You know, he got banged up in the 2nd quarter, but prior to that he had over 100 yards rushing on very few carries and a score. So, you know, we were in pretty good position. Like I said, we didn't handle it very well in the 2nd half, and unfortunately you can't do that and expect to beat a good football team.
You mentioned Adam and Paxton, a couple of players that are going to be coming back next year that you'll have to help in the retooling process to go ahead and compete again in this District 10 5A that you finished 2nd in this year.
Yeah, I was really proud of the kids, you know, and the way we performed this year. You know, I've said this before, the senior group that we had, those 29 kids, I mean, have done an outstanding job this year. The hardest working group, most coachable group that we've had. They did a great job of leading our team in a very competitive district, you know, to finish 2nd place behind Allen. If you look at the other losses on our schedule, some really good football teams there that we came up short against. But overall, I was really proud of the job that our team did, really proud of our senior group and the way that they led. I told them that again this morning as I met with them. I'm going to miss them. They're a big part of who we are, and that's probably the toughest part about coaching is you got to say goodbye to some of those kids that you've worked with for 4 years, and you spent a whole lot of hours working with them in the program. So, you know, we'll miss them. They're a big part of us, but we are excited about the kids that we've got coming back. We feel like we've got a solid nucleus of guys that got some good experience this year, and look forward to reshaping our team for next year.
Obviously, Brian Driscoll, as we've talked about, he's such a great player, led the DFW area for 5A in rushing yards this year. How much, not just as far as a football perspective, but as a person, you know, in the locker room, are you going to miss from Brian?
Oh, a ton, you know, and I would say the same thing about that whole entire group, as I just said a second ago. I mean, Brian's a phenomenal athlete, has set a ton of records. You know, to lead the DFW in 5A in rushing 2 years in a row is an outstanding accomplishment. He's a finalist for the Landry Award again this year, which is the DFW Heisman Trophy. He was one of the 5 finalists last year. He's again one of the 5 finalists for that award again this year. Can't say enough about what he's been able to accomplish. You know, he's a great kid. He's got great character, great leadership. You know, I'm just so proud of the way that he's carried himself and the example he's set for the other guys in our program.
You finished the year 6-5 overall, 3-2 in the district. I think you can't overstate enough how tough of a district this was that you competed in. You know, Oliver Pierce for Allen's another finalist for the Landry Award. It's so rare to have 2 players from the same district as a finalist for that award. And you have 2 teams still in the district that are in the playoffs, Allen and Plano West. How do you feel about their chances to possibly go deep into the playoffs?
Oh, I think they've got a great shot. You know, I've said this before about Plano West that, you know, we beat them early in district play. They continue to improve. They're very explosive offensively themselves. I'm not surprised to find them in the 3rd round by any means. Of course, everybody's familiar with Allen's success and what they've been able to build over there. I'm not surprised by the fact that they're still playing in the 3rd round. I would look for both of those to advance further in the playoffs as we move forward.
I know it's early on, but what are your expectations for next year's team?
Well, the same that it always is. I mean, we expect our kids to come out and compete and to play hard and to go win. You know, this is our 3rd year in a row that we've made the playoffs. We finished 1st in the district in 2010. We finished 2nd in the district the last 2 years. Again, a very competitive district this year that we were in as well, and to come out 2nd place behind Allen, I don't think that's a lot to be proud of, you know. And so I expect this year's group to come out and have the same focus and the same intensity and to play at a high level and to go compete again for a district championship and to go make the playoffs for the 4th year in a row, and hopefully we'll move further in the playoffs. That would be our goal as we move into next year.
Well, Coach, it's been a pleasure to talk to you every week about the Boyd playoff season and about the regular season and all the games that you've had. Your team did a tremendous job this year, and although the 1st round loss, you know, I really want to commend you and your players for a job well done this year.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
For the Boyd Broncos, the season is over, but they always will have next year to look to improve. Again, another 2nd place finish, and this time in District 10-5A, one of the toughest districts in the whole state of Texas. The Boyd Broncos have a lot to look forward to in the 2013 season.